Hey everyone, I wanted to go over honestly, a really controversial subject because I feel like it's kind of like what has separated people to want to be a Christian nowadays. I know it was for me, to be honest, like growing up. I don't think that Christianity, obviously what it was, is what it is now. When we were growing up, like back in the day, I remember thinking about like Christians being the people that always try to do right, like goody two shoes is the like stereotype that we would have. I don't know, it just kind of was like a stigma. It was kind of like a stigma. You carried some weight whenever you said you were a Christian. And to be honest, like back then, although I was baptized, I had no idea what that meant. Just because I grew up in church. It was kind of just like grew up with a part of my identity, and that wasn't a decision I necessarily intentionally made with knowing its purpose. It's kind of like, all right, I went to VBS, got saved, and then what? Nothing. That's it. That's it. So like now, 30 years old, I feel like I get it. And no, I do get it. But it's because I've had to completely erase what I thought was my Christian identity and give it a chance. You know, like you always see these people that say they're Christians and then like are super happy or not sinning and just walk the life of Jesus, you know, and that's kind of like their expectations for things. But it's completely different. Like what I have realized now through growing my relationship with God and having an intimate relationship with Him, actually getting baptized for the right reasons and saved for myself. Like I made that decision and it completely changed my life. So there was the start of like my new journey. So my eyes have now been like, they're different. Like I see things differently. I love differently, but still like a very young, Christian. Like I don't have much knowledge in like what that means to actually be a believer, but walk in authority, and I do now. So now I just like, I know this message, you know, I'm gonna lose friends, I'm gonna lose like people that are close to me and things like that, but it's so urgent. Like this is so urgent now. And although it may seem crazy for those that don't come from a spiritual aspect of things, and you know, you just believe that this world is the world because it just happened, right? What's the big deal about someone saying that they believe in God? Like I feel like people like get mad or like they get offended or defensive, or like I said, they lose friendships because of that. But like why? Is that just like the devil working in them, or like working in others to get uncomfortable or defensive in those situations? Or like why is talking about what we believe in, specifically God, offensive to people? You know, like you talking about what you believe in, although it may be offensive to me, I don't like not become like sociable with you for it, you know? So I want to get rid of and just like enlighten whoever watches this, and hopefully a lot, like share this bad boy, like this bad boy. I want to start doing more of these, about like what Christianity really means. And so that you can see this from a new lens and from a new stereotype, okay, of what this really means. So identifying as a Christian, like if you're seeing this world as it is, like just put it into this perspective. It's either you're living this life and things happen for, you know, randomly, like whether you get sick or injuries or, you know, mad, sad, depressed, or whether you're following your generational cycles as far as like what your family's doing. You notice how everyone else in your family is kind of following that path. And you just think that this world is going for ever, right? Until you die. And then I don't know what you believe from there. Or you can believe that there's a good and an evil, right? Satan and God. Like you could believe that there's two forces going against each other. You could believe like, you know, the universe, and it does, you know, the universe has energy, and you can believe in frequencies and spirits and things like that. But the bigger picture is, because I have evolved from this, is the person that created the universe to be so freaking amazing, to have the, you know, spiritual realm vision of this world is life changing. So now you're not only seeing things, good or bad. You're seeing things from the creator and the one against the creator. And this is not fake, because now we have a Bible, and yet people get so defensive whenever we want to say, hey, this is in the Bible, like, oh, we don't want to touch the Bible, or I'm not going to read the Bible, or, you know, like people, like for some reason, they have some stigma against the Bible and not going to read it, not going to touch it. But if you actually did, you could see, and this is going to tell the woke universe or this woke world that, hey, this spiritual realm that we're in is totally like energy and, you know, spirits and demonic forces and things like that. But it's from the spiritual realm of God, the creator of the universe, of giving everything life in the Bible. If we would read it, he says that he gives everything life. So the trees, the, you know, like the wind, like everything. So not seeing it from a woke perspective where it's like, oh, I have such a connection to the world. Like I can feel its frequencies, things like that. Used to be that person. You can now see it like, wow, this is God living in everything. And if you could apply that mindset to the world and realize that everything is made in his creation, right? Then you can see things either good, bad, evil, working for us, against us, but it comes with knowledge. It comes with knowledge in the Bible. So we have to know, like, what is God's word? What is of God? So in this world, we're not deceived and deceptive of like, hey, this is what God says people need to be, and this is what, you know, God says people don't need to be. And instead, we're placing our vision on this. Like, you know, we think that people should be this way, and we think that people should be this way, and, you know, love all people, and, you know, whatever it may be. But the Bible is a guideline. And when you start to read these things, you can start to see the world, his creation, what he's intended us to do since he's not here. Okay. You can see how these things are happening. I'm going to have a cat somewhere or another intercept this. So anyways, you could see how these things are happening, not just by coincidence, not just by, you know, I don't know what you would even call it, but because we are in a spiritual realm, okay? So we have meaning to life, and people get offended that we're going to call ourselves Christians because we believe that there's a meaning to things and that there's someone who did create the world, because it says it in the Bible, and then everything else in the Bible is prophetic too. So you can see how everything that we've lived through, are presently living in, and are going to live through is in the book. But yet people don't want to read it. If someone told me that the answers to everything were in a book, I would go buy that book instantly and try to figure it out, right? But I get it. The Bible is hard to understand, super hard to understand. It doesn't even make sense most of the time, right? But when we get this spiritual lens and we see things through his perspective, because we are so in tune with his relationship, and now we understand the intimacy and energy on this earth coming from him and not the earth, you are now in a deeper level of faith than what you had before when you were just believing in the universe, because he is the creator of the universe. Facts. Can you imagine having a relationship with that person other than his just creation? Like, give me a mic to drop. Seriously, this is important. So let's create this vision of what we see Christianity to be like, right? So now, instead of it being a stigma and it being, or, you know, like the stereotype that we created, it being this person maybe we grew up with and, you know, they call themselves a Christian, so we now always picture a Christian being like that. If we could read the Bible and understand it, because we were praying for this understanding, to be honest, and you have to really, like, you have to try. You just have to try, okay? You have to go into this thing vulnerable, like, lay down your pride and ego and, you know, what you think this should be like. And like, I'm not going to read about God because I don't believe in that. Like, just read about it out of curiosity and see how it works for your heart. It will. But we now can see Christians as being the replica, or we are the human versions of trying to be who he was, right? So in the Bible, we see that he is patient. You know, Hebrews 4:12, we can see that he is patient. 2 Peter 3:9. He is full of compassion. Psalms 116:5. Okay, if you're thinking about an individual and these were the characteristics of this individual, they were super patient. Talk about your husband. If they were super patient in your time of anger or in your time of an anxietal moment and you're freaking out, or when you're just in a low and don't want to talk, or you have just an outbreak, outroar, and you're just not yourself, right? You're being attacked by the spiritual realm, you know, demons in this spiritual realm, you're being attacked and it's attacking your relationship, but yet he is patient like God because he sees that this is a demonic energy, if you will. He sees the bigger picture here. And so he has faith, right? He's full of compassion. So he's going to try to understand the situation because he's full of compassion. He wants to know your deepest heart and like your deepest feelings. Love. If this person was like, you saw this person and they were love, you know, it talks about in 1 John 4:7-9, God is love. And that's something that I really specifically try to aim for in my life, is to always love, no matter if it hurts or it's painful. Like I'm thinking back to love, because I can save my friends and I can save my family through being these things. 1 Corinthians 13:4-8. This one is really common. You know, it talks about how he is patient, he's kind, he does not boast. So think about like people that are prideful or they have an ego. You know, he's saying that he does not boast, or he doesn't put others down. This person that you created, imagine that they're all these things. They don't put others down. They're not putting you down. They're not envious or prideful. Imagine this husband, right? Imagine this friend. Imagine this sibling. They're not envious or self-seeking. They don't delight in the devil. So again, applying this good force, evil force, God, Satan, right? Saying they don't delight in the devil, meaning they're not giving in to the opposite of these things. They're not giving into anger. They're not giving into pride. They're not giving into ego. They're not giving into self-satisfaction type things that are detrimental to others. So if they're not delighting in the devil, okay, they're not giving into their sadness. They're not saying, I am depressed. They're not giving all of their energy to the devil, right? The negative things in the world, but instead they are speaking the things that God is, okay? We can see that Christians are not just some goody two-shoes, blah, blah, blah. Like, lower that pride that the devil is giving you right now to see Christianity through that lens. Seriously, okay? And now see that Christians, all we are and all we should be, there are Christians who are lost people, okay? So don't get it confused. There are Christians that are lost and that don't see it from this perspective, that don't see it from the spiritual lens, but maybe have their own battles because Satan still has a hold of their heart. And I want to talk to you about how we can start to get rid of all of these things that are attached to us so that we can walk in this walk that we are intended to. But if we can literally not delight in the devil and give our power to the things like anxiety, depression, sicknesses, illness, and things like that. Not coincidence. Remember, put a label on it. It's good or bad. If it's not working for you in a good way, apply this lens to anything. If it is not working for you in a good way, it is not of God, because he is only working for you in a good way. He's not tricking you. He's not deceiving you. He's not trying to make you pick and choose. He's going to give you a path if you know his word, because it will tell you what to choose. It will show you how to live. He always protects. He's trustful. He always gives hope and he perseveres. So as Christians nowadays, we have to see as Christians, it just means that we are choosing to live the life of being a person of patience, of love, being full of compassion and being kind, someone who's not envious, someone who's not boastful, and applying all of these things to every single situation in life. Like, we are choosing to live a life that God lived. So as Christians here on earth, we are educating ourselves in his word to just live a life that was like him, the creator. That's all it is. And then now we are aware of those things and we are aware that things have a good and a bad aspect to them, we can now start to educate ourselves in this word and see how we can gain authority with our words to be vessels here and to like use this now. I even call it it's supernatural power. So you now have superpowers because in the Bible, it talks about spiritual gifts, which are superpowers, basically. Okay. So, or supernatural powers. So healing the sick like he did in Acts, healing the blind, the deaf, schizophrenia, mental illnesses, all of those things. If it's not working for us, it's not God. So we can now apply this aspect to these things and be this person on earth that can heal those things with our hands, with our voices, because he gives us that kind of authority. And this is why he's put us on here on earth, is to help our brothers and sisters through these things, help them get rid of all the evil, all the negative energy, all the demonic things that are attached to them through generational curses, through what they're allowing in their houses and through the TV and how they're speaking, through pornography, through living outside of wedlock and things like that. Like once we are aware of those things, we have to change them, right? And we can apply power to our words and using this in this world when we start to educate ourselves how to. Because that's how he gives us right there, the instructions on how to educate ourselves, to use our voices and to use our will with power to heal these people, to save our brothers and sisters, and not to be out of anger and love, and to be a perfect example of like who he was. So, people that follow Buddha, same thing. They're trying to live his lifestyle because of who he was. But Satan, he comes here in like mockery. He's going to come here in trickery. And he's going to come here in costumes and through people that are going to try to do what he was doing, just through different people to try to like deceive people. He's allowing these figures and models and idols here on earth to deceive people. We have to see the bigger picture. So getting rid of this vision of who like Christians are and what Christianity means, things like that. See what this, like, get it from this perspective. Christians are people that are now aware that we are in a spiritual world and we either believe in the creator or not, right? Or the universe, I guess is what people are doing, right? But once we believe in the creator of the universe, you are now opened to a whole nother lens of this world and you now get it. You get you get it. You get what the purpose is and you get that things are either working for you or against you. And it's not to be confused on, ooh, is this good or is this bad? That's the devil deceiving you. So now, like I said, we see Christians as people who are trying to see see this world through a spiritual lens, and now are trying to be a better person and live like God and, have an intimate relationship with him to teach us how to love, teach us how to be full of compassion, teach us how to be slow to anger and not boastful or put others down. Like teach us to be aware of all the evil around us so that we can start to rebuke it and denounce it. And it makes sense. Because now when we have those powers and we have a mission every day in our world, guess what? You don't have to worry now about financial aid. He's going to provide because you are now working for him. And if you're working for him, then he will provide. Why would he not? And it tells it in the Bible too. Like, let me put some scriptures up here if we need to. Like, all things working for him are for good. And he will not leave us or abandon us. So why would that pertain to financial freedom too? He's not going to leave us not being able to provide ourselves if what we are doing through our actions and through our work and things like that are for his good, or to bring, people closer to him and let people live in love and start to see that they are healed and innocent and not people that have all this stuff attached to them, because that's what it is. My heart breaks because friendships start to dissipate, families start to dissipate, long marriages start to, split and things like this when we can't see that we have the answers to these problems. Like when we see that, like what a husband should be and what a wife should be and how we work through those things. Or we can't see that, like what love is an example of that. Because if that was the situation, we wouldn't be having these problems, right? If everyone was on board with that. Because the whole goal would be to be love. So how can we go wrong? We'd be healing the homeless. We'd be healing the sick. There'd be no more evil ever. So, like, I just challenge you to challenge your mindset. Like, just challenge yourself to be bold and to see that, like, whatever's convicting you to not get into the Bible, good or evil, right? Whatever's convicting you not to get into the Bible or pursue it more, know that this could be a spirit of ego. This could be a spirit of pride, of boastfulness, like in 1 Corinthians 13. Like, these things are not of God and they skew your vision. So the things that are not making you want the good, right? It's the devil. When you learn to have control over the devil, okay? Because we do. That's why he's below us. We're on top of him. Like, he has no power over us. Like, once we have control over the devil and the demons and things like that, because we now have a voice of power and demons now know that we are a woman or man that has authority. Like, they know that, like, okay, we get it. Like, they're not going to give in, or they're not going to see, like, they're not going to, fall into that temptation, or they're not going to be hateful and things like that. Like, whatever. Once they see that we have that authority, they can leave you alone. We will break generational curses and cycles and addictions, illnesses, injuries, things like that. So it's not weird. It's not crazy. Christians can be crazy. But the ones that get it, the ones that see it, that bigger picture here, the ones that have been educated, maybe you grew up, Baptist like I did, but you grew up educated and recreated the truth of what a Christian is and who we are meant to be as a Christian, then it's not weird. It's a whole nother enlightening about, how we can be even more connected through God's creation, realizing that it's from God. Right? Can you imagine that? It makes this world so much more interesting when you can connect with his creation and you can see everything from him, and everything that he's doing is of his work. Like, having that connection in the spiritual way, right, it makes life purposeful. So I hope this makes sense to people. Go back and watch it. Look up these scriptures. Like, share, comment. I want to start doing these things, so I need your help. But let me know if this was enlightening to you, and I will connect with y'all next time.